So the background to my entries, it's all from the same journey, which is an adventure I'm on called Around the World in 80 Harvests, where I'm visiting 80 wine regions around the world. I'm trying to discover why they're each unique. And what excites me about visiting vineyards and wine regions is that I think that's really where you get to understand the people, the place, and that's what I want to communicate through the project. So all of my entries are on different parts of that. One of them was in Brazil, the other one was in Uruguay, and the other one is Peru. And Peru is one of the ones that is really off the beaten track. So I'm visiting some well-known places and some lesser-known places. And one of the things that I found very exciting about Peru is that it's actually the first wine region in South America, the first place that anyone planted any grapes because they're not native to the continent. And it kind of went through this very turbulent, messy history where they stopped making wine because of the Spanish crown, and then later kind of picked up international varieties. And what I found really exciting is this renaissance at the moment in the native varieties, particularly Cabranta, and kind of bringing that forward to a new age. And so that's what excited me most about that particular piece for the wine tourism piece. And the feedback's been great because I think when you write about places that are lesser known, often other people get excited to discover a new region too. And so I know that some of the producers there, they got contacted by importers and more journalists coming to visit. So that was a really, really nice kind of to be part of that chain of activity in Ica. I think for my 80 Harvests journey, it's pretty difficult to get a big publication to want to visit all these different places because we're visiting places that are much lesser known and other places that are really well known. And I think sometimes big publications have a very specific focus on what they want to publish, the kind of markets they want to hit. And so the kind of ethos behind 80 Harvests is really embracing the entire world of wine and treating every region with the same importance and sobriety about kind of taking, speaking to the experts there and valuing that region just as highly as you would, a Grand Cru. So I think because of the style of my project, it's quite difficult to get a big publication to completely follow every part of the journey. However, saying that, I've had amazing support from big publications, including, the drinks business, Decanter, Berry Brothers, lots of different blogs and online websites who've wanted to follow the journey and be part of it in different areas. I started as a print journalist around 15 years ago now. And when I was training as a journalist, we weren't that focused as much on the digital side. So kind of transitioning into being an online writer as well has been a real learning experience, but it's also kind of opened up so many more opportunities. And I find that really exciting about the digital world and digital publications. I like the immediacy. I love the intimacy that you can have with the reader. And I really like that kind of more visual appeal that you can give your pieces without having to worry so much about space, because obviously cyberspace is infinite. And when you're looking at print, you have to keep it down to certain sizes because of costs. So I think digital media is a really exciting moment to be in right now. I think it's expanding before our eyes and no one really knows exactly which direction it will go in. So it's a constant game of learning and picking up new skills, but that's also very stimulating. And I think for me, particularly for the 80 Harvest project, the digital side is definitely one of the most important elements. And it's the way that someone can join in on the journey and feel part of it, which in print media, we just wouldn't be able to do to the same level. I think it's been a really positive impact on the industry. I know that a couple of people have asked, what is the negative impact of digital media? I think the only negative is really that, we're harder to impress. It's easier to get information. You have to work harder to impress your reader. And that's probably, it just makes it more challenging and more fun. I've done my qualifications. So I spent years doing my journalism degree. I did my other degree in literature and a master's and working in wine diploma as well. So I would say you have to sweat and work hard and do your qualifications. However, the truth is you just need to go out and do it. And I think, you sink or swim in this industry. So my advice would just be give it a go, focus on what you want to do, find your niche, because you can't write about everything and you can't do everything. So find your niche and just go for it. Try your hardest, and you won't regret it. I think what's really interesting about buying wine and being a consumer today is that we're in an era with complete freedom of choice. And even though certain markets are controlled by their government and every single region has its own politic and difficulties getting hold of certain bottles, I don't think we've ever lived in a moment quite like this, where you could choose from so many different wines from around the world, different styles of wines. And I think what we're finding is that people are going to start moving into tribes. So you get people who will buy their organic wine, those that are going to seek out natural wine. You'll get your Sauvignon Blanc tribe, all kinds of different wine communities. And I think that is really exciting, because it means that there are so many different factors that influence what you buy, and you can make your own decisions. I think the moment that we're in is really open. There's a lot of opportunities, and I think it's getting harder and harder to control someone's drinking choices. It actually comes from that person themselves. You can make your own decision what you want to drink, and it's easy to kind of find that market somewhere in the country that you live in, hopefully. Moderation for me is the difference between wine being good for you or alcohol and being bad for you. Wine, as we know, is an incredibly social, enjoyable, wonderful gift that we can all share together. But it can also switch to being very antisocial. I've been writing about wine for many years, and a lot of people misunderstand my job as drinking wine all the time. And I can tell you that I wouldn't be able to travel around the world drinking wine every day. You spit, you don't swallow. And I think it's really important to communicate that too. You can enjoy wine without getting drunk. And you really don't want to work your way to an early grave, because there's so much more wine that you want to be able to enjoy and drink and find and discover. So I think moderation is a really important message. I think it's important that we embrace it, but also I think it's another really important part of that message that we don't demonize alcohol and we don't demonize wine, because it is a beautiful thing to share. And the important thing is just finding the balance. I think that the stage that we're at right now is a really interesting mix between media and brands and retailers that are influencing what people are drinking and how much they're drinking as well. I think previously retailers used to have a lot more power. And I also think that when we had less voices in wine media, journalists also had a lot more power than they do today. But I think now, very much similar to my response about the opportunities that we have, I think all that power is kind of diminishing and being shared between lots of people. I think the government has a certain power in terms of how much you can afford to buy, but not necessarily what you are buying. And I think what we will see becoming one of the most important focuses is social media. I think it's just something that's becoming a bigger part of our everyday life. And I think it's something that, especially in wine drinking, everyone loves to hop onto Instagram or Twitter and share what they're drinking. And that social kind of status that you can create through social media, I think is going to be a very interesting tool in the future for selling wine and for watching the trends and what people drink. I love print. I also love digital, and I think both are really valuable. I think both have a great future. I think they have a very different purpose. And I think in all kinds of different sorts of communication industries. There are many bloggers and writers online who have found their own ability to make a lot of money in that sector. So there's a lot of vloggers, especially in the travel sector, that are making good, consistent income with just producing digital content. I think wine is still in transition there, but I'm sure that there will be different spheres where you can make money purely as a digital writer. And I think most print writers today need to be able to do some of digital too in order to make a steady income. So I think it's split between both worlds at the moment, and I certainly think there's more future in the digital world to make money. Personally, it's a learning curve for me the whole time how to make money. I don't think anyone really goes into wine writing or wine communication hoping to earn a bomb, and if you have, then you've made the wrong choice. Turn around now. But seriously, I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I think you just need to be more creative at looking at how you can make money without just thinking about the classic ways that people were making money 20 years ago. Right now, I'm in Mendoza, Argentina, which is where I've been living for the last 7 years. So I'll be here for a couple of months, just typing away and trying to get out everything from my trips to North America. And then in January, I head back to London for my diploma exams. And then I've got 60 more harvests to go. So I'm off to Africa, Asia, Australasia, and quite a few countries in Europe. So a lot on my plate, a lot of traveling to go. And I hope that you can come along with me and join me online.